God, we love you and thank you for your many gifts you have given us. Come to us, remain with us, and enlighten our hearts. Give us light and strength to know your will, to make it our own, and to live it in our lives. Guide us by your wisdom, support us by your power, for you are God. You desire justice for all, enable us to uphold the rights of others. Do not allow us to be misled by ignorance or corrupted by fear or favor. Unite us to yourself in the bond of love, and keep us faithful to all that is true. May you guide all our decisions so that they may be pleasing to you and earn the reward you promised to good and faithful servants. We make our prayers through Christ our Lord. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate that. I'll call the January 20th meeting of the Burleigh County Commission to order. First item is roll call of members.
Commissioner Bakken.
Here.
Commissioner Schwab.
Here.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Here.
Commissioner Munson. Chairman Bittner.
Here. Next is the approval of the agenda. Commissioners, I want to move a couple things around. To start with, there's under number 15, where it's under my name for update purchase policy for Highway Department. I want to remove that from the agenda because we're going to talk about that under the subject that's under 15B, and I want to move 15B up to, or basically eliminate it because we're talking about the same exact thing under 10B, which is the accounting RFP. And so that accounting RFP essentially involves both of those under 15. And then I want to point out that under the abatements on the consent agenda, I see my name on there for Marine Corps service-connected disabilities, and that's at a 60%, and there's also paperwork that jumps it up to 80%. And so I want to not be involved in the vote on that abatement, Commissioners.
Okay.
And then I want to add an agenda item in place of 15 that I think, Commissioners, you all received an informational email regarding the Garrison Diversion District meeting recently held. So I'd like to have a brief discussion on that. I don't think we need to take very much time with that, but I want to add that in place of the other things under 15. Anybody else have anything on the agenda?
Under other business, I'd like to add a brief little discussion, update on the 250th anniversary for the United States.
Okay. Anybody else have any changes or deletions? Is there a motion?
Move to approve the new agenda.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. Consideration of the January 5th, 2026 meeting minutes and the bills. Commissioners.
I reviewed the bills, and I would move to approve them and the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, to approve the meeting minutes and bills for January 5th. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. Number 5 is public comment. Does anybody wish to approach for public comment? This is restricted to Burleigh County residents and landowners. And obviously, if things are on the agenda, that wouldn't be under this subject. This is a public comment period. Does anybody wish to approach? Third and final call. This is a public comment period. Does anybody wish to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment period. And we'll move on to the consent agenda. And I'll just remind you that I don't want to vote on the abatements.
Did you want to just turn item number 6 over to me then?
Yes.
Okay. Item number 6, consent agenda. A, abatements, B, special event permits, C, check replacement, D, social media policy. Does anybody want to pull any of those off for discussion? I'm going to call for a roll call vote on 6B, C, and D. And then we'll do A separately because I'm assuming there will be an abstention from Chair Bittner. So with that, I would entertain a motion for 6, B, C, and D.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bakken.
Yes. With that, item number 6, consent agenda, A, abatements. Anyone want to have a discussion on those? I would entertain a motion to approve them then.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bakken.
Yes. Motion carried. Do you want to have an abstention on the record for that, or?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so can you amend that for an abstention to Chair Bittner, please?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Item number 7, Chair.
Okay. This is a commission continued discussion regarding a public administrator. I know that I believe Aaron Burst is in the room, and I think we may have somebody from Guardian and Protective Services. We wanted some additional information, so if Guardian and Protective Services is here, would you come up, please? And identify yourself for the record, please.
Sure. Commission, this is Scott Bernstein. I'm the Executive Director at Guardian and Protective Services. And I believe your pen is dead.
Is your microphone turned on there?
Yep.
Okay.
Again, Scott Bernstein from Guardian and Protective Services. I understand you have had some questions as to the role of the public administrator, and Aaron Burst would probably be better to give you the long-term history. Guardian and Protective Services has served in this role, as I can tell, since the 2001, then it's been appointed by the court, succeeding various periods of time. It comes through the judicial district is where those appointments are made. How we landed in that particular position, I think, is probably because under the Century Code, there are requirements to fill as it relates to guardians, conservators, and one of the other lesser known elements that takes place under this particular public administrator role is dealing with unattended deaths. So we'll get a call from hospitals or from the medical examiner, sometimes from a funeral home where a body has been transported. Excuse me. And then we have to step in and figure out who this person is possibly identified with, to see if we can discover any other heirs, relatives, whatever. Do they have any property? Is that property locatable? Do we have bank accounts? How do we find those? That is kind of a mysterious process as it relates to, it's many times basically the name. Sometimes they've got something in their wallet, predominantly men, and then we take it from there. So whenever there's like a suicide, those types of things we get called into. One of the other places, however, that is lesser obvious is that if there is somebody who has a will and the executor in that estate is no longer capable or competent or may have died, and cannot fulfill that responsibility, then we are called upon to step in and start to process that estate. Some of those are pretty straightforward. Some of them are really complicated and messy. We had one not too long ago that we completed here. The house in Bismarck essentially had turned into a meth house, and they had disconnected all the electricity, tore out the wiring and the plumbing of the house. There were 8 heirs who thought this property had great value to it. Long story, it took hours and hours and hours of work to be able to start to resolve that situation. I can say gratefully that ultimately that house was brought back into a sellable condition and is now on the tax records and restored in the neighborhood that was dramatically impacted by that house. So we have this kind of fingers out in the pie. This came about, I think, because I had submitted earlier a agreement that we would have with Burleigh County to provide these services. And so it got handed around, I think, a few times and went to various places. And so that's, I think, how it arrived here. What questions would you have? Other than that we're on 24/7, 365 days a year, so.
Well, I think the biggest question, if I'm not mistaken, had to do with budget. You know, we don't have a budget for any of those services through your office. And I think what I saw was that an invoice that we saw, or?
It was kind of a contract agreement type of thing that had been done the previous year, and then I was told to submit it in June for the new budget cycle, which I did, and I think there's been confusion where that landed or whatever.
Okay, to the best of my knowledge, at this point, that was not approved, and there is no budget for that. And so I think the reason that we invited Aaron is to give us some information on the funding that pays for your services or the things that you do. Because I think there's a disconnect. My understanding is that there was legislation, and the reason that we didn't budget for it is because there's legislation that provides reimbursement for those services.
There is past funding, and that's under guardianship. There was a new office, and we have Rachel Sinnis, who's the director of the Office of Guardianship and Conservatorship as well. That was not necessarily wrapped into that bill last year. That's maybe where some of the confusion lies.
I think that's possible.
Yep.
So I think at this point, we probably want to hear from North Dakota Association of Counties Director
Yeah.
Aaron Burst.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully you can kind of help us sort this out a little bit.
Well, I will try, Chairman Bittner. Good morning, or good afternoon, or evening. Time flies when you're having fun. Aaron Burst, Association of Counties, also a Burleigh County resident. I've been with the Association of Counties now for 20 years, and it's interesting as we're talking about public administrators. This is one of the first projects I started with at the Association of Counties. Been in county government now for 25 years. Public administrators is what we're talking about today, and public administrators play a critical function in county government. Since the founding of counties, counties have relied on public administrators, and I look at them as kind of the fix-it office. For the founding of the state, counties had staff people who served in public administrator roles, which was to do a lot of the things no other office really had the technical expertise to do. As Scott mentioned, that could be attending unattended deaths, getting the things in order, or it could be the guardianship process for people who have no money to hire somebody to do the guardianship. So public administrators have a critical, important role, and we totally support it at the Association of Counties. And I'm trying to be respectful of everybody's time. I know you have a full agenda. I'll give you the snapshot of why I'm even here, why we're talking about this. In 2009, then Chief Justice Vandewaal was concerned with how the guardianship process was in North Dakota. and not just for public guardians, which are handled by public administrators, but also guardianships in general for people who have the court appoint someone to make decisions for them. The Supreme Court became involved, and the North Dakota Association of Counties became involved because we looked at it as a property tax measure that counties were being responsible for having to pay for public administrative services, which are appointed by the court, which still is true today. And there seemed to be a breakdown that the counties kept getting bills from the court services, from public administrators who were private service providers, and there was a breakdown. So we suggested to the legislature in 2013, in the process leading up to 2013, that the state should really take over that process, not just funding, but all around oversight of the process. So in 2013, the North Dakota legislature created the Public Administrator Support Program, which is administered by the Association of Counties. At that time, it was $1.6 million. 800,000 came from county governments, and 800,000 then would be matched by the state government. And that was in 2013. Thankfully, nowadays, it is $8.1 million that is into that program, and the counties have had to pay for nothing on the public administrator side in terms of the guardianship portion of what a public administrator does. Now, again, I totally agree, public administrators do more than the guardianship portion, but it is a significant part of why they are county government. This is an old code, if you want to look. It's an 112101, which makes this a county responsibility, but we have largely shifted a lot of money over to the state side to pay for some of those services. I was coincidentally watching the meeting, and I saw Mr. Bernstein speak to you about this, and I was on some email correspondence also. And again, I can't say he's wrong because, of course, there are certain things that they are doing. But in the large play that the Association of Counties has been trying to do over the last few years is to remove this responsibility from county government. Now, technically, it has not been removed from county government, so there is some obligation, I admit that. But in large part, the public administrator guardianship side has been paid for, at least what the legislature thought they could come up with. So that, again, that's a real long history. In the 1970s and before, this was an elected position, an elected county position. That has changed, and now it has gone to a private service provider model. So there is no county that has an employee that serves as the public administrator. Ward County was the last, and I think about 2015, that employee retired and they went to a public service provider also. So we have a number of great public service providers, including GAPS, that is now serving as the public administrator for numerous counties. And so that's a bit of the history lesson. So the county has not been paying for this. I'm not aware that Burleigh County has been paying for this over this time that we've been paying at the association for this program. But again, there are some other things that they certainly do. How that's quantified, I don't know. But I can tell you long-term, the Association of Counties is committed to looking at how we can address property taxes and shifting things that are not truly based on property tax over to a different funding mechanism. And this is one that happens to be there. At the same time, we completely support the stuff they do. Critically important. It really is the Lord's work. So I'm not, what this commission wants to do with that is up to you.
So what would your recommendation be? Because is that something that just fell through the cracks, or was it just they picked up extra work outside of the normal? What?
Mr. Chairman, and I've worked with GAPS for the last 20 years on this program. I was unaware that there was requests to counties outside of the guardianship portion of the public administrator. I don't think Burleigh County was funding that. So if you want to, that's certainly within your right. But it seems to me that, and again, I don't know what happened, but it seems to me that had to be in your budget going forward. And maybe it should be in the next budget. And again, depending on what happens in the legislative session coming up, maybe there's a way that could all be blended together too. But I don't know how you do it.
Right. hang on, Commissioner. So the funding that was provided by the state, and you're the pass-through for it, was it intended, are you aware that any of that was supposed to cover like the whole picture? Is that, because we seem to have gotten mixed messages.
Right, Mr. Chairman, what I can tell you is that the funding, at least originally envisioned, would pay for what public administrators do so counties don't have to pay for it anymore on property tax.
Okay.
How the dollars were calculated was based on how much people got paid individually for guardianships per day. So the guardianship portion became the threshold of what the dollar is, because we never asked the legislature to also then give us whatever, $10 a day for closing estates and those kind of things. It was just blended in with everything else. So I can't say the legislature intended it to be 100% covered, but that's how the original plan was supposed to be. It was no longer going to be a county function in terms of the dollars and cents.
Right. So that's what we were operating under, that framework that was being paid for by the state. Commissioner Bachman?
Aaron, you mentioned this next legislative session. Are you foreseeing some changes to the program, or are you seeing some evolution in the program? What
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Bakken, 112101, the public administrator section, needs to be rewritten, along with a number of others. But in my opinion, counties, once the state went to state consolidated courts, it seemed to me the public administrator was the orphan that really didn't have a home. It was still a county-funded position. I would have liked to seen it all go.
kind of stuck between judicial and county?
Correct. And I'll tell you this. Originally proposed way back in 2013, I suggested this should all be state-controlled, state-run. They run their own public administrator. They're the ones appointing the people to do the work. And that was shot down because the court said, rightfully so probably, they have a conflict of interest if they're appointing people and also having to oversee them. Department of Human Services at that time, now it's DHHS, Department of Human Services says, well, we're running a similar program for the DD population, and so they didn't want to mess with theirs. And so ultimately, that's where the Association of Counties came in. We stepped in and we said, hey, we can run the program short term and try to take the fiscal responsibility off the counties and eventually move it to the state. Now, again, I'm not sure if we have an ultimate goal when that would happen. Now, I will say, as Robin is here, we did create an office of guardianships, so that portion will be moved. But again, whether the county still has some legal responsibility for the other portions of that job, I guess that's why we're here today. Ultimately, it would be my goal to just say this is no longer a county function. But who knows what the legislature would do.
Commissioner Woodcock?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Way back, and you talked about year 2000, they rented space from the Burleigh County at the Provident Life Building, and we paid $25,000. In other words, we paid $25,000 to have them rent-free at our facility. In other words, we budgeted for 25, and we paid Provident Life Building the 25,000. That continued on for a long time until we decided to remodel the building, and they decided they'd have to look for other space, which I think we told them to start looking, and they did. They moved up north. They're on the north side of town, and a great space. But back then, I was more heavily involved, and they do a great service. They did a great service for us when I was involved in taking the cases that were a problem case, and we didn't have the staff to handle them, and so they did it, and all we did was pay the rent. And so that's some of the history of previous. Now, I don't know whether it's budgeted for this year or not. That's not. It was $25,000 before, so that's
I think
some history.
I think that's the amount that's in question.
Is it?
And Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Woodcox completely agree. You were actually, counties were getting a good deal on the services they were receiving. Right. So again, I'm not here to cast doubt on any of that. What I would say is that was part of where the Chief Justice was having issues with this, is counties were doing everything different. Cass County, for example, wasn't even paying for guardianship services. they were receiving public administrator help, but it was offset by private clients, and Cass was basically not paying. And so there was a desire to be some uniformity that counties would pay or the legislature would pay for the guardianship portion. But like I say, the public administrator does a number of things. I do think as we're, in particular in the age of caps, we're going to have to redesign some county functions. And maybe there's time now to say public administrator shouldn't be a county function. Some of those fix-it things maybe could fall in a different office. Of course, anytime I say that, then the other offices get a little upset. But I do think it's time. Some of the traditional historical things that counties have done should be evaluated now in light of caps.
Are you aware of any other counties, by any chance, that pay for anything along these lines over and above what funding is provided by the state?
Mr. Chairman, I am not, but that would be a good question for Scott. All I can tell you is what the Association of Counties with state dollars pays to these private service providers. I do think if those payments become so large, there is nothing stopping the county for staffing a public administrator again, just like the old days, and applying for those dollars. But again, that would have to be a decision all of you would have to make. As of right now, the Association of Counties passes that $8.1 million through to the private service providers for the guardianship services. We take no money, by the way, I got to clarify that. We just simply ask OMB for the money that appropriated from state dollars. We created a computer program and then sent it out to the private service providers. So that's how that works.
So it's safe to say the assumption was that all services were being covered? Is that?
Mr. Chairman, it's safe to say that if you pumped up the guardianship portion enough, that would take care of some of the other non-paid things. That said, there was never any grand plan of how it would all work out. It was the grand plan was eventually just the state takes all the services and the county doesn't have to worry about it anymore.
Okay, what I'm struggling with is his comments about the $25,000 originally being rent, and somehow we morphed into, I don't know if it's mission creep or morphed it into something else. And I'm wondering if the services in other counties are the same as what's happening here.
Mr. Chairman, I will ask the counties if they're paying outside of what the pass is paying.
Okay, I'd appreciate
Yeah, I
that.
certainly will. What I would say is in my experience, the large counties pick up the largest demand of these cases because the Bismarcks, the Fargos, the Jamestowns are where a lot of these services are. And so you can make the argument that you are picking up your fair share on those services. Again, it's critically important to have public administrators. It saves taxpayer dollars. It really does. If you can get somebody out of a hospital bed, it's hard to make that connection in terms of the Excel spreadsheet, but it does. If you can make somebody get a least restrictive care, that's a good thing. What the county has to pay for it or the state pay for it, we can debate, I guess.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Burst? If you wouldn't mind hanging around just.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. Gaps, you want to add anything more to what was said? See, I'm struggling with how did we get to doing services that weren't included in what the state was funding?
Right, and I think Aaron has done a great job of breaking that out because the focus was on guardianship and conservatorship. And that's where the predominant focus has been, and that is well taken care of. What has happened over time, from what I can see in the records, and I'm not like ancient history with gaps, is that the calls that were coming towards us are way beyond guardianship and conservatorship at that point. And those
Okay,
aren't things
let me
that
stop
were
right there.
included in the
Hang on.
budget. Yep.
Okay, I understand what you just said, but I guess my question for the state's attorney, and I think we're going to need more information on that, is that something that the law anticipates us to cover? You know,
So
you
I would
know,
have to look at everything that's included, but yes, we are required to cover like burial expenses for someone who's
Right.
indigent and things like that. And so it sounds like the service that's being provided kind of goes in line with that, taking care of the estate of those people that don't have things set up or the means to do that and that fall under that category. I'd have to look at the statute to see what's all required for that. But there are things that we are required to do.
And so how did we get from the state paying for that until, you know, to where we don't have the budget for it because we thought the state was paying for all of it?
Well, I don't have the history of that.
Yeah.
I think it sounds like the county was paying for that at some point, and I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, Commissioner Woodcock said that we were paying rent, and I wonder if that was just what was assuming that was covering it, or if it was just,
Yes, it was.
pardon me?
The rent figure of $25,000 was approximately what we thought we were obligated to, and they get donations and that type of thing, so it's not just strictly funded by the county or the state. So we agreed, it was before my time, but we agreed that the guardianship would not pay any rent, and that was our donation, so to speak, to covering the services that they provided. And the services they provided were very extensive back then. I'm sure they're the same, if not more, now.
Okay. But the rent situation has gone away.
That was our I shouldn't say donation, but they didn't pay us any rent. We actually we sent them a check for $25,000, and they paid rent accordingly. Whatever that rent may have gone up over the years, but that's what we paid towards their operation. Intended to pay for the rent.
So that was just voluntary. Do you recall if that was based
It was
on
always
century code or
It was
just?
I don't remember before my time, so I don't remember. But that's what we did. I know that.
Okay, I don't think we have enough
I don't think
information to.
I think it's very clear that we need to find out what is our responsibility. Are we
Correct.
supposed to be?
That's where I was
Are we
headed,
supposed to
yeah.
be paying anything, or I don't know. I have to go back and find that out.
Okay, I think that we don't have the ability to make a decision on this at this point because you're apparently. So what are you asking for?
The same $25,000 that historically has been there.
Okay, so that we've established now that that was originally for rent. Right?
Yeah, it was, in my understanding, looking back in the records, it was the swap, so to speak,
Yes.
where it was like, this is what we'll give towards you doing this until the building was no longer available for us to rent, so.
Right.
But they
So-
did move. They did move to the new location, and we continued to pay $25,000
Yep.
towards that rent.
That kind of should have gone away with the legislation that covers those
I'm not
costs. So-
sure about the legislation and what their intent was, or how much progress they made on it. I really don't know.
Aaron, do you know if rent for the organization is part of the funding for?
Mr. Chairman, Aaron Burst again, Association of Counties. No, all we were doing is giving a per client, per day price, which is now $20 a day per client.
Okay, so it's reasonable to think then that that per day, per client price would include the operational part of the group, right? I mean,
The concept
service.
was if you could get up to $20 a day, that would take care of the service. I'm not saying whether it did or didn't, but that was the concept.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, obviously, we're going to need the state's attorney to help us with this.
Right. Find out what our obligations are,
Right.
if any.
Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here for that. I appreciate the input on everybody's part. Senior Assistant County Engineer Casey, Apple Creek Road Bridge and Lincoln Road Bridge. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. The first
Like the
item, thanks.
Um,
Don't see them too often. First item is looking for authorization to seek consultant engineering firm to perform construction engineering services for the removal of an existing structure on Apple Creek Road, approximately half a mile east of 80th Street Southeast. It would be replaced with a new structure. It'd be a box culvert, a triple 14 by 14 box culvert on Apple Creek Road in the same location. We'd also be looking at a removal of existing structure on 102nd Avenue Southeast, half mile east of US Highway 83 in Burleigh County. In 2026, the Burleigh County Construction Program includes work in those areas, and it would be a federally funded project. Project will be let on the February 27th bid by the state, and construction will be funded under an 80-20 federal local split. The use of consultant firms can be beneficial in completing projects that require certain capabilities that we do not have in-house or require faster action than our current staffing can provide. The project will require us to follow the federal construction process, a process that we currently are not certified to complete. We propose using a consultant firm to perform this function. Interested engineering consulting firms will submit a written proposal addressing staff experience and technical capabilities, current workload, understanding of project scope, fee schedule, etc. After a review of the proposals, we will select the most qualified consultant, and the North Dakota DOT and county will work with them to develop the scope and timeline for the project. Once the details of the project have been worked out, we will apply their fee schedule and come up with a total cost. This then will be brought back to the board for your consideration. The construction engineering services for this project will be performed and funded under an 80-20 federal local split. Our recommendation is for the Burleigh County Board to adopt the attached proposed resolution, and I'm available for any questions.
Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Bakken?
So as far as the timing for these two projects, are they going to be offset a little bit? Is that kind of the thought process? Because I know out in this area, connectivity can be an issue at times. So are these going to be concurrent projects, or are they going to offset a little bit?
For the Apple Creek Road project, once that would all be connected. Once the removal starts, there will be a detour. We have had public input with Apple Creek Township and many others. I have been in contact with Apple Creek Township Chairman numerous times to make sure we're continue to explain how everything's going to go forward on those items. Once the bridge is removed, we would start the box culvert construction immediately and try and get that done as soon as possible so we can get the roadway open again. 100 Seconds on the north side of Long Lake, the contractor hasn't been selected yet, so they may choose to do that one and then Apple Creek or Apple Creek Road, then that one. The 100 Seconds much easier. That one can be removed, and we're going to replace that with the 18-inch equalizer culvert. So that one will be much faster, probably be maybe 2 weeks at the most.
Okay. I'm just concerned about the timing with, trying to get around one place to another when it comes to agriculture out there. So that can be an issue at times. So thank you.
Yep.
Commissioners, you have a proposed resolution before you. What are your wishes?
I would move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve the resolution. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. That was A, correct?
Correct.
Okay. B.
All right. The next one's an authorization to seek a consultant engineering firm to design the reconstruction of Apple Creek Bridge located on Lincoln Road, approximately 1/2 mile west of 52nd Street by the city of Lincoln. The action requested is to allow us to go forward and seek out the design services. The North Dakota Department of Transportation has been accepting applications from the North Dakota Flex Fund Bridge Replacement Program. Burleigh County submitted an application for the following structure that was selected for North Dakota Flex Funds at the location that was previously mentioned. The North Dakota Bridge Flex Fund recipient announcement for awarding funds was made on January 9th by the North Dakota DOT. Burleigh County was awarded funds for the previously referenced bridge on Lincoln Road west of the city of Lincoln. In order to take advantage of these funds, the Highway Department is requesting to start the advertising process to seek engineering design services. By receiving these funds, the county would be responsible for all preliminary design engineering costs. That includes permitting, environmental clearances, public involvement, hydraulic analysis, utility locations and conflicts, design, specifications, and estimates. The construction cost and construction engineering costs will all be covered under the grant at 100% of the cost. Because of the importance in moving this project along, the Highway Department recommends the hiring of a consulting firm to perform the required preliminary engineering design services. The use of design consultants can be beneficial in completing projects that require certain capabilities that we don't have in-house. We propose that any interested engineering consultant firms submit a written proposal addressing the same items we mentioned before with staff experience, technical capabilities, workload, understanding of the project and fee schedule. Once we've reviewed all the proposals, we will select the most qualified consultant and work with them to develop the scope and timeline for the project. Once the details of the project have been worked out, we will apply their fee schedule and come up with the total cost. This will then be brought back to the board for your consideration. It is our recommendation that the Burleigh County Board adopt the attached proposed resolution, and I am available for any questions.
Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Bakken?
Casey, kind of same question. More it's in conjunction with the Apple Creek Road project. As far as the alignment of these two projects, the Apple Creek Road Bridge and then the Lincoln Bridge, again, my concern is about connectivity there. So are we going to be okay with offsetting the timing of those projects?
Yes, the Apple Creek Road Bridge at Apple Creek, since we haven't said Apple Creek enough yet, that one will be done in 2026.
Okay.
The one where it's located on Lincoln Road, we're looking at 2027, just by the time you get all the design and permitting,
Okay.
because you got to get everything through the core and all that fun stuff.
Okay.
So,
I figured that was going to be a little bit further out. So
yep. We would look at bidding that project probably in February of 2027 for construction in 2026.
Okay. One other question then, as far as, because fairly sizable project, is there anything else, seeing as how we're going to have a section of that road shut down, anything else we need to address that I would rather close something once and get everything done? And is there any opportunity to conserve some time and projects?
Yes, there is. So part of the flex fund for bridges, they will fund only the portion that's the bridge and your tie-ins. If you want to do any of the roadway that's beyond that, that would have to be at 100% of county cost to redo any parts of the road. We can, through the process of public involvement and your input, of course, is looking at, do we want to go from where we ended the project west of the roundabout on 52nd, where the South 40 is
Okay.
located, and then get that over to where the city of Bismarck has annexed in, where that drainage channel comes from the airport on the
Okay.
southeast corner. And we can get those tie-ins done, but that would be at county cost going through there.
Okay.
And that
But
could be
getting the
bid with
equipment
this
out there is
project.
the big cost, so
Of
if there's some conservation in doing it all at once, so.
Yep, of course.
Okay, that was my only concern, so.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Woodcock?
Is that bridge in either the city of Lincoln or the city of Bismarck's, or is it out in the middle of the two?
It's in between the two, right in
Okay.
Burleigh County area.
Neither one of those wants to annex that so they can pay for it, right?
I haven't heard of any plans
They're
anytime
not beating
soon.
your door down, are they?
Not yet.
Okay.
So
I
is
know it
this-
needs to be done, so.
Is this because of the condition of the bridge or just
Yeah.
the age? Or what's the?
Yep, due to the age of the bridge, back in 2009 when we had the ice jam, I remember going out there with Rodney and crawling underneath the abutments, and there's actually a triple abutment. There's old bridge beams that have been salvaged and placed on it. It's just getting to the end of its life over time, and it's a good way to have it funded to be able to be replaced at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the proposed resolution. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Bakken?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab?
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox?
Yes.
Chairman Bittner?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you,
Casey.
Commissioners.
County Planning Director Flanagan, final subdivision. I don't know how to pronounce the name, so I don't want to offend anybody.
Good evening, Commissioners. Mr. Chair, it's recommendations from the December 10th meeting to approve the Hughes final subdivision plat. You may recall there was a 8-0 recommended approval from the Planning Commission at December 10th. This was presented on the 5th of January to this commission. The question was whether to to consider the covenants as part of this plat approval. It was recommended to table it tonight to determine that through an opinion by the state's attorney.
Okay. I think at this point, then, we'd want to hear the opinion of the state's attorney.
My understanding of the issue was deciding how any restrictive covenants put on the plat, because it's part of a subdivision, would be affected by vacating this plat and then replatting the 3 lots as 1 lot. That was my understanding of the question, and really that's beyond the scope of what this board does. In my research, we don't get involved in restrictive covenants. That's not anything that we consider. When somebody's putting in for a permit for building, we look at what our planning and zoning laws are, and we determine whether or not it's appropriate to issue a permit that way. And then if the person is in violation of any restrictive covenants on the land, that's an issue that they have with the individuals they entered that covenant with. And so really for you to make the decision regarding the agenda item, that's a non-issue, because that's not anything that you are by law required to consider when determining whether or not you're going to vacate a plat or plat the land. So that's the advice that I have for you today. I do have, I did send out an email kind of outlining that, and then also indicating that I know there may be issues with individuals. If there is a restrictive covenant and somebody's coming in and wants to get a permit to build a building that's in violation of those restrictive covenants, my understanding is people can come in, of course, during the public hearing and bring that to the board's attention. But maybe you want to, as part of the application process, have them, check a box saying there aren't any restrictive covenants that say they can't build the building or do what they want to do with their land that's on the land. And if there are restrictive covenants, maybe have them include a copy of that with their permit application, so that the Planning and Zoning Commission and this commission has all of the information in front of them when deciding whether to grant that permit. But for the platting of this, the vacating of this plat, that's not an issue before the board today.
Okay, thank you, State's Attorney Lloyd. Commissioner Bakken?
So that brings up another question. This is aside from this, but going back to what we need to have as far as for covering the county and planning, when should we look at having some modifications made moving forward to what our paperwork process looks like then?
I would suggest that, just so that you have all that
Okay.
information. Again, the process is that individuals come in, they put down what they want to build on their land.
And we have to go off
and then-
in good faith of what they say.
Correct, but then it's whether or not it complies with the planning and zoning ordinances, and then whether or not it's, basically for the good of Burleigh County, whether it fits into the plan for the county. So it's not, the commission isn't just a rubber stamp that if you're going by the ordinances, it gets approved. There is still some discretion within the commission as to whether or not they're going to approve the permit. And one of those things you can take into account is whether or not there are restrictive covenants that prevent that, that item from being built or that structure from being added onto the land. Because again, if somebody's going to put some building on it, we give them a permit to put a building on the land that violates a restrictive covenant, that may mean down the road litigation for those individuals because there's a violation of the restrictive covenant. And that's something you could take into consideration. But again, we don't enforce covenants, and we're not in the practice of ensuring that if we're granting a permit, there aren't any restrictive covenants that are in place. That's up to the permit applicant to determine whether or not what they're
That's a
doing is in
civil
line.
action.
Correct.
So more so to cover our planning and zoning commission rather than this commission, because it would fall there first.
Correct.
So, Mitch, is that something you could work with state's attorney lawyer on? And just, it sounds like it's probably a simple line or two, and here, check this box, and it's covered.
Right, Commissioner, Mr. Chair, we could include it in the actual permit and have them check it off.
Going
and sign
forward,
it.
okay.
Yeah, the question is that comes after the plat approval, though.
Okay.
So we do come into covenants a lot. We've had a problem earlier or last year with covenants on a permit that we issued that did create some problems for that neighborhood.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, if you guys could work together on that, and down the road, so,
Right.
thank you.
I should point out that building permits do not come before this board or the planning commission. That's essentially just a staff function, you know. Not that it's here or there, it just doesn't come before these boards to make a decision on, so. I just kind of struggle with adding a checkbox or changing the language on a permit if it's something we have nothing to do with to begin with.
Well, I think it covers our butts a little bit from an administrative perspective, and whether something goes forward or not down the road, we're clean on that. It's just one little piece of clarification for us, so. Because I know how the process works. Somebody walks in and goes, oh, hey, you know, here's your permit, blah, blah, blah. And it's assumed that it's a rubber stamp from the county that I can do whatever I want on this land. Well, in some cases, if you go back far enough, people don't know what, especially if you're looking at third, fourth, fifth time a property has changed hands, they don't necessarily have that paperwork or know all the constraints that may go along with a piece of property. They should,
Yeah.
but they don't always do it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but typically, if you bought property, you would do some due diligence and have a title company involved and stuff like that. And everyone I've ever seen, they show you that, you know, there's covenants existing because they're recorded in
Yeah,
the
and
recorder's office.
I've seen those fall through the cracks too,
Yeah.
so, because we, on the city side, we had that happen
Right.
quite a bit. So, I think it just covers the county a little bit and gives a little bit more protection for, and clarification for our staff.
Is that some heavy lift to do that, an added line or something? Is that?
No, we just put it on the permit application, but we do ask. We do almost 99% of the permits we ask, have you got covenants on this? Have you looked at your covenants? Have you talked to your homeowners association about these projects?
Mm-hmm.
And we've even looked for the covenants in the recorder's office just to back up what they're saying.
Okay.
And so the problem we had earlier, last year was they said they have the covenants and they're not recorded and we couldn't find anything. And then in the meantime, we're in the middle of some problems with the neighbors up there and we got blamed for this.
So then the function of having them essentially initial a box or whatever would confirm that? Or?
It would make them think about it for sure. They'll check whatever they're going to check, and whether or not they have them or not, we don't know. I mean, we could ask them to bring copies of it. We have asked in the past, but covenants are very hard to track down if they're not recorded, and it's even if they're effective. Do they have a homeowners association that's still effective?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they expire so many years after the plat's approved.
So if we don't do any enforcing on it, and we have nothing to do with them at all, essentially.
We have no enforcement capability for covenants.
Right.
That is an agreement between property owners, a civil agreement.
Right. So then, I don't really feel that we need to be in the middle of it since it doesn't involve us to begin with. So I guess if some slick lawyer wanted to get the county and, but there's historically, we've just never done anything with them.
I think and the fact that it's a good idea to make this applicant think about these covenants.
Yeah.
And to ask them the question, have you looked at that? You have a copy of them. I think we're trying to the best we can help with any kind of future problems preventing them anyway.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I appreciate it. Okay.
Just another layer of protection for staff.
Yeah,
and us.
I don't see any problem with it. I just think that it's not really checking any real boxes. But the question is then.
That's got nothing to do with item number 9. That's just a little side note
Right.
that we kind of got off on, but it's just, hopefully it'll prevent future problems in some way, shape, or form.
Sure. So before us is the Hughes final subdivision plat. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I wouldn't mind hearing from any parties that might be here as far as what they may have to say about this, because I know where we left it 2 weeks ago, I don't know if the parties were having discussions, but if there's anybody here, I'd like to hear from them.
Okay, that's fair. Is there anybody that wishes to appear on this Hughes subdivision final plat? Come forward and state your name for the record.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Dan Anderson, Legacy Law Firm. I represent Mariner Construction, Inc. I'm just going to try to make this situation a little simpler to understand. So this lot right here has covenants. I have a copy of the covenants for the commission if they'd like them.
Can you speak in the microphone, please?
I'm sorry. This lot right here has covenants on them, and I have a copy of the protective covenants if you need them. This lot does not have covenants. And so what the landowner is asking to do is to make this a subdivision with part of it with covenants, part of it without covenants. However, their street address is on the covenants to get to their house. And so what we're asking the landowner to do is to, in which we can do and work with them, is to have the covenants redrafted so it covers their new subdivision. Because if they have a new subdivision, and I've never seen this in 10 years of practicing law, that you have covenants on 1 acre, not on 10. So if they ever subdivide this into lots, who's going to follow what covenants? The other issue I have is the zoning. It's kind of hard to do with this microphone. This is zoned residential, this is zoned agriculture. And so is this subdivision going to be split between agriculture and residential? And where is the line for that, or is it just that lot line? I guess the main thing is, I don't think everyone's got everything in order yet to approve a plat. Also, to vacate a plat, you're going to need the signatures of the landowners within that subdivision to vacate a plat, just the same way you do with covenants or easements, encumbrances. You need the landowners to change the covenants. You can't just vacate. I don't think this commission has the power, and I believe the state's attorney said that, to vacate a plat on your own. And so I know the landowner has mentioned that they have signatures. I have not been given those signatures. They need to be notarized, and they need to be recorded with the county recorder to vacate a plat. That's the only way you can vacate a plat. You can't just get signatures and tell the commission that you have them. It needs to be recorded with the recorder to vacate a plat, and then you can replat it. It's not your guys' responsibility to vacate and replat property. If this was all their property and there's no plats, this subdivision would go through easily. But with these issues, we have my clients own property all around this, and this could drastically affect the value of their property if they decide to, if they don't follow the covenants. Because then you can have, if there are no covenants and you are in ag land, you can pretty much do almost anything you want. And there's houses being built all around here. They plan on developing all around here. And so we don't want garbage and trash sitting on one property that has a new subdivision just because they came to you guys and asked. And so we recommend to the commission that you don't accept this version of the subdivision. And I think my clients and the landowners can probably come up with an agreement to see if we can have these covenants run with that land, this would be a non-issue. And so that's something that we haven't had discussions with this landowner, but that is kind of the ultimate goal for us. And I'm open to any questions to you guys.
Okay, commissioners, any questions for Dan? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I'm sure we'll hear from the landowner.
Thank you, commissioners.
I'm Corey Hughes. I'm one of the two landowners. You guys heard from my wife last time. So, as was mentioned, basically, our intention is not to violate the covenants of the first acre. As you can see on the drawing that, or the overlay, our property, we put our outdoor riding arena basically right on the property line. My intention is to build the arena on the backside of our house, in part of that original ag. And I'm not even sure that first acre is zoned residential, because when you go to the property tax information on the parcel, the GIS website, it actually is taxed as commercial. So I'm not sure at all what the zoning is on that first property. I have not been approached by anyone from the other party about redrafting this. We've just met opposition. But like I said, it was never our intention to violate the covenants of the first acre. And you're right, it is not notarized, but I did receive signatures from a good portion of our neighbors, where I explained to them the process of the subdivision, because it wasn't clear to them. They thought subdivision meaning I was splitting the land, which I wasn't. Once I explained that it was all being combined for the purposes of building a horse arena and where, not a single person objected that I talked to. Not everyone is available to talk to when I did go around. One of our neighbors is here, if you did want to hear from him. So, essentially, according to the state's attorney, covenants aren't the concern. I mean, I'm legally liable if I violate them. The question is this within the ability of this council to perform the replat? So.
Okay, anything else you want to add? Have you got any interest in working with the other party? Can you guys get together and knock it around, or what? Are you guys just oppositional, or what's the deal?
I have never been avoiding them. They've not reached out. They have come here to all these meetings, objecting. And it sounds like it's more than just the covenants. Now they're talking about trash and things like that. I mean, we're good neighbors. We treat people nicely. We help clean the roads with our equipment when they're snowy. And I've cleaned driveways when people are out of town and it gets built up during those bad winters.
Do you want some time to work with them, or what's your thoughts here?
Is it needed? That's my question.
Well, no,
If the covenants stay with
actually,
the
I
land-
don't think it's needed. I think, we don't want to have bad neighbors. The guys that you're dealing with surround you, right? I mean.
Well, they owned ag land that one day they probably do intend to develop.
Right, and so you're neighbors, right? So our goal is always to try to reduce conflict between neighbors. I don't know how you feel about that.
I'm not against discussing it with them, but at the same time, this process has already been tabled and delayed, and so I want clarification.
Right. Are you building anything right now?
I was hoping to start in the spring, but not right now, no.
Okay. The path is we got a couple of options. Obviously, the path would be to approve it as it is, because there's no reason not to really. My understanding of the law, our job has nothing to do, and this is difficult to say, but our job has nothing to do with the concerns about covenants. That's the one path, is to approve it as presented. The other is to give the two parties a chance to get together and put it on the next agenda, and if they can't come to some kind of an agreement, I guess then worry about it then. Otherwise, those are the options.
I would say the only problem I've run into is I've also tried to obtain legal representation, and on short notice and due to various conflicts of interest, it's been a process. It's been difficult.
I can imagine that.
And
it doesn't seem to me that it's a lawyer question. It's a kind of a
neighbor
question.
And honestly,
No,
I don't know.
I hate to see people having to use lawyers for neighborly
I understand.
issues.
And honestly, I don't understand why there's talk of trash and affecting future development. I mean, we've not put trash anywhere. Yes, we have a trailer, a couple trailers, and we have stuff, but that's not trash. We're just trying to own our horses and use our property for the way we were told we could, because the majority of it has no covenants.
If I may, Commissioner?
Yes.
It sounds like we might be combining things we should probably keep separate. The first action is to vacate the plat, and then you can replat the new, because it sounds like we're vacating a portion of the plat and then accepting or approving a new plat with the 3 lots put together. So the first step is, has the plat been vacated? And in order to do that, I sent you guys the statute in that email that I sent, that if the lots have been sold, which in this case they have, a plat or any part of the plat may be vacated by all owners of the lots in the plat joining in the signing of an instrument declaring the vacation.
All, is that the key word there, all?
Yes, all. And then that has to be filed with the recorder's office. However, since the lots have been sold, what your issue is regarding vacation of the plat is that if there are streets or public rights, they can't be vacated without endorsement of the governing body. So basically, if the plat is vacated, then you need to endorse vacating the public streets
Yeah, that would be a
and the
problem,
public
because
rights
there's a
on there.
road right, there is a road that's part of that plat.
Right, and that couldn't be vacated without an endorsement from this board. So that's the first step, is the vacation of that first plat before we can join and create a new plat. So, and I think what this proposal is doing is to try to combine those two things, declaring it vacated and then approving the new plat. And so the first step, has the first step been met? Have we
No,
vacated that
I'd say
initial
no.
plat? And so I think they should actually be separated.
Okay.
First, you need to vacate the plat and then approve a new one if it is vacated. And so have all the owners of the lots in the plat joined in signing an instrument declaring the lot or the plat vacated. That's the first step.
Okay, I can ask that question.
I have
You
not
heard the
obtained
question?
all the owners, no.
All the owners is the thing,
Okay. I can do that.
okay? Does that need notarizing, or is that just a?
It doesn't say, and that's going to be, I suppose, up to the recorder as to what the recorder would accept for that document, because of course, again, that has to be recorded with the county recorder. It just says, all owners signing of the instrument declaring the vacation. It doesn't say what those signatures entail.
Okay, so I would recommend to you that you're going to get signatures as able. And I strongly recommend contacting the county recorder to find out if she would have a requirement for whether that be notarized or not. I kind of doubt it, but I would think that prudence would dictate you do that. And then when you have, assuming you get those signatures, then I would say contact us to get back on the agenda. And because we on the advice of the state's attorney, we're not going to move forward with that in the absence of that action under the law. Okay.
Okay.
All right, you have any questions for us? Okay, the ball's in your court, right?
So all owners of the subdivision that have the covenants, because I think there's a couple lots that pre-exist or predate the subdivision. Not that it really
My
matters.
understanding from what she said is all owners of the subdivision, because we don't know anything about the covenants, right? To vacate a plat.
Well, one
portion
doesn't
of
actually
it.
have a house on it. That's my only
The
concern. It has a
statute
pole
reads-
barn.
Here,
I'll just read you the law. If lots have been sold, a plat or any part of a plat may be vacated by all owners of the lots in the plat joining in the signing of the instrument declaring the vacation. Vacation of streets and public rights is not effective without endorsement by the governing body that has the power to approve the plat. The endorsement must indicate the public rights to be vacated.
okay, and then
That's what it
I'll
says.
just repeat, the key word there is all.
Okay.
Doesn't matter whether there's a house on it or not, or whatever. So the owners of all of the lots in that initial subdivision, that isn't that question here, okay?
Then the best resource for that would be the recorder to make sure that everything is.
Sure, yeah. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
I
And
do
we'll
have-
wait to hear from you.
I do have a
Commissioner
question,
Bakken,
Mitch.
go ahead.
So Mitch, is there or is there not an issue with a new subdivision that has mixed use? And I'm assuming there's not, as far as residential and agriculture, because that's what that would be. Am I correct?
Is there a problem of
Yeah, there's
having
not a
ag next to
problem.
residential?
Well, so in a new subdivision, because typically it'd be as things were developed, then it would come out of ag into,
Yeah, the
residential
opposite,
or-
yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, but this, because it's.
so there's no issue with that part.
Shouldn't be, I mean,
Okay.
it's 13 acres, it meets the agricultural zoning, so it's not like it's creating anything new, except for taking that one lot out of the residential area.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else, any other questions? Okay, we're going to move on.
I would move to table this until, is 2 weeks enough, or do you want to contact Mitch and get back on the agenda, or?
2 weeks should be enough, depending on whether
Okay.
people are.
Continue, not table.
So, yeah, so I would move to continue this to our next commission meeting then.
If for some reason people are unable to get a hold of them.
Okay.
No, we'll just bump it.
Yeah.
We can bump it.
Yeah,
We'll
just-
save you a place, make it easy.
Let
for you.
Mitch know, we got a placeholder for you, and let Mitch know, and if we need to bump it back again, then we will.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to do that. The motion is clear. Tom? Okay. Call the roll.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes.
Thank you,
Motion
Commissioners.
carries. Thank you. That went a long way around the barn on that, huh? Number 10, HR Director Binder. We got County Administrator Position Discussion, Accounting RFP. Welcome, Pam. I was going to ask you, maybe I should ask you off microphone, but are we going to have a discussion about the treasurer position and the county engineer position today? Or are we-
That is up to you guys as the board, if you want to have that.
Okay, we don't have it on the agenda.
It is not on the
slipped my
agenda for
mind.
either one.
And I think what we'll do, what I think we should do, is either consider a special meeting for that particular discussion or put it on the agenda for the next meeting. What are your thoughts?
I think we should probably put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, so that we don't forget, let's put an agenda item on for the next regular county commission meeting for treasurer position discussion and county engineer position discussion.
How about the
Pardon me?
county administrator? That too?
We're gonna
gonna
talk
do that
about the
now?
county administrator, because I think that's a whole separate thing, but, we just had interviews for both the county treasurer position and the county engineer position. And the split, just so you guys know, they're both sitting here in suits, and they really wanted to hear. They are so even that you couldn't have gotten any more even. Both cases, I think the conversation with the treasurer and the whatnot, we have to have additional discussions on both positions, and we're not prepared to make an announcement for who gets the position at this point. That's why I think we may want to have a special meeting, because it's kind of involved about how, and it's actual how we're going to move forward as the county.
Some
So
different
it's-
mechanics involved.
Yeah, there's some options. I don't think it's really, since it's not on the agenda, that we need to go into those details tonight. And if we don't resolve it between them, we'll have it on the agenda for the next meeting anyway, okay? Pam, go ahead.
Okay. My first item is actually my second item on my budget memo, or my board memo, and that's the county administrator job description. Commissioner Woodcox had asked about the county administrator, where we were at with that. And last year, we had a special meeting, went over what we wanted in a county administrator. You kind of gave me some ideas, the commission, and I put it together and sent it out, and that's where it kind of got dropped. So I put together, brought it back up, the presentation from that special meeting, and also the draft of the county administrator job description, and I included that in the packet. So are there any questions on the county administrator job description first.
Commissioners, any questions? I'm not seeing any.
Okay. So my recommendation on that would be to have the commission approve the draft county administrator job description and provide guidance to the HR director on how to proceed with this position for the recruitment.
I would move to approve the draft.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the draft. That's half the question. Okay, any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Bakken?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab?
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox?
Yes.
Chairman Bittner?
Yes, motion carries. Okay, so then the second half of the question, you want to clarify that again?
Is proceed with the recruitment plan. What, I need guidance from the commission on how do you want to recruit for this position?
Okay, my thoughts is that we should start moving ahead for it. We have it in the budget.
Yep.
And I honestly believe, commissioners, that we're at the point where I think that's a necessary thing for the future of Burleigh County. I know everybody is dealing a lot with their portfolios, but I can tell you that this last week alone has been pretty much all county stuff for me.
A zoo?
That's a good way to put it, but, that's my thinking on it. Commissioner Bakken, you had something?
So I think part of the discussion with this is we're looking at re-envisioning to a great degree what Burleigh County looks like moving forward. The mechanisms, all the mechanics, how the process works, how administration works, how this commission works, and how that trickles down through staff. So I would be in favor of, while we're having that conversation, which plays into re-envisioning the treasurer and the county engineering staff, we fold all this together. I'm in favor of the county administrator, but the pieces all fit together. And I think it's a bigger picture that we should have as part of a special meeting moving forward. Because I think getting everybody on the same page and what that vision looks like with an administrative piece, with the treasurer, with our finance director forward, with the county engineering staff, and what that entire department looks like, and how other departments may fit into that, I think is a bigger discussion, and we should have those all together.
Okay, so are you asking for a special meeting, like a workshop type?
Yeah,
thing
I
in the
would-
past,
I would-
Which makes sense.
I would
Okay.
want a special meeting with bringing staff in,
Yeah.
bringing Pam in, and we need to flesh out some moving parts here. And then timing is going to make a difference in this as well, because for me, the big trigger for moving forward with the county administrator is the Provident building coming on board. And I would like to have a county administrator in place before that Provident building comes to fruition, so that they're involved with the final product and what that is going to move forward for the benefit of the county residents. So, yeah, more of a workshop atmosphere where we can just lay all these moving parts on the table and then figure out the timeline and what the county's going to look like moving forward, because we're re-envisioning county government right now. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that needs all of us at the table at a special meeting to flesh all that out.
Okay, and as part of that discussion, it's been in the back of my mind that we need to have a discussion regarding a stipend for the project manager on the Provident building. She's working way more hours and time than really fits into her job description. And I have had some conversations with Pam about that, but I think we need to discuss that at the same time. So if we're going to have, because obviously a special meeting, we can only discuss what's on that agenda.
Yeah, I
And so
would throw that on the agenda.
I think, are you clear with kind of what we're talking about having on the agenda? And then,
Well, and part of the stipend discussion, again, is that project manager wouldn't be in that position if we had a county administrator.
Exactly right.
So,
Exactly.
all the pieces fit together. We just have to sit down as a commission in that special meeting and flesh out what the timeline is on those pieces.
Right. Okay, so that's the rough outline of the agenda, and if we need to add anything between now and then, we'll want to work with staff on that. I would say the next step would be for staff to work with commissioners on when is a good time for that special meeting.
ASAP.
ASAP,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and we have to be cognizant of the fact that Commissioner Munson needs to be at that table as
Yeah,
well.
well, yeah,
so-
absolutely. I mean, that's the
so,
whole
yeah.
point in staff working with the commissioners to schedule that. Commissioner Woodcock?
Have we settled the VSO veteran service position?
Yeah, the VSO position is filled. We are
It is filled?
filling the
Okay.
deputy VSO position is what we're recruiting for now.
Okay.
So we're recruiting for that? That is not closed?
And it may have closed last week.
Okay. Commissioners, in that regard, on that position, maybe we should add that to that agenda too. Because honestly, I'm not aware of the workload there that would justify adding additional staff, so, but it's not my portfolio, so. I think we'd want to add that, Tom.
Did you want the treasurer and
Yeah.
engineer discussion as part
Yep,
of this?
yes, because it's all interconnected.
Do we want to add in the finance director office and deputy with that as well?
Well, sure, you know,
Yes.
it's all, you
So-
know,
Yes, we're going
Yep,
for all.
all of it.
All of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
yeah.
we are re-envisioning county government, and when we talk about being efficient and being cognizant of it's not our money and taxpayers' dollars, that's what this is intended to do, is streamline county government
Right.
and make it efficient and cost-effective for our taxpayers. So.
Right. And just so the audience knows, we do have some plans and procedures and directions that we're heading. But the thing of it is, we have to have that conversation in an open public meeting, not between individual commissioners. And so we stalled out on having those conversations simply because of the open meetings laws. So we're going to have that discussion and have those things in an open public meeting so that everybody hears what it is that like we've been talking about with senior staff and the whole thing. Okay? Okay. The accounting RFP is the next. So this addresses.
Do you
county
want to
adminis-
hold with approval on the county administrator, or was that voted on already?
That was not voted on. I think that we're moving towards having a county administrator, so I think we need to start the process for.
Yeah, we need to vote on the draft. Right, Pam?
Yeah, I
We
think
did-
you had
we
made a
did
motion.
vote on the
Yeah,
draft.
we had the motions, but we didn't call roll on the
We have a
draft.
motion and a second,
Yeah, there was a motion and a second.
Oh, we didn't vote on that?
We didn't vote on the draft, so,
special meeting.
yeah.
There's
Not on the
Because we were,
discussion.
yeah, because
Okay.
the second half of that question is what led us into the special meeting,
Okay,
so.
I thought we voted on that, but, okay, call the roll.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, then,
Right.
so the question is, start the hiring process.
Okay.
That's something, you know, I think that's a consensus of the board, and I don't know that that needs a motion, unless you're more comfortable with that.
No, we can start the hiring process.
Yeah, that's going to take a while.
Yes.
Right. And then staff's going to work with this. Okay, so we're good to move on to the accounting RFP?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do that.
Okay. The board had requested that I put together a request for proposal on accounting services, year-end accounting projects assistance, and financial accounting policies and procedures development. And I worked with Deputy Finance Director Taylor Schmidt to get this layout together. State's Attorney Julie Lawyer has looked at it for legality, and she didn't find any revisions that needed to be made. So I'm basically just looking for approval or what revisions the commission thinks they need made before we can release it for bids.
Okay, commissioners, at the interview, during after the interview process for the treasurer's position. Basically, as part of that, and information was provided to me. And I want to thank Pam and Taylor for working so quickly on putting together this RFP. They really got right on it, and so did the state's attorney as far as reviewing it. My recommendation would be to approve the request for proposal.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the request for proposal. Any further discussion? Commissioner Schwab. And yes, if you're going to ask whether the highway department funding thing and whatnot, that's part of the draft.
I understand
Okay.
that, but I just want to make a comment. You know, this Commissioner Bakken is talking about a vision for the future. That includes streamlining the government, and it is not easy.
Nope.
But right now, we are doing it, and, you know, I don't want people to get confused in what's going on here. It was time to streamline government, and it's full steam ahead on that.
Yes, thank you for that. Any further discussion?
No.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes?
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You
Pam.
and Taylor both for all that hard work. Okay, Emergency Manager Singer, we got some Provident building items that we talked about a little bit at the last meeting. She's gonna get into that for us. Welcome, Mary.
Chair and Commissioners, I have some updates on the Provident building. Our original RFP included some elevator rehab. It only included resurfacing the cabinets inside from a soft surface to a hard surface. We do need extra work on both elevators to modernize them. We have had assessments done by 3 companies. My request is we remove what was in the RFP for the cab upgrade, take that out, and then RFP for the elevator modernization. That wouldn't be until 2027. We want that at the end of our remodel, so it's not getting beat up, yeah. So we would have to, remove it from the current RFP, take that credit, apply it toward the RFP process in 2027, but we have to put it in during the 2026 budget for the Provident building.
Commissioners, after much discussion on that particular subject, I would recommend that as the.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve as presented. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. Next.
Second item is the roof. When we did our RFP, we listed the roof replacement as an alternate. That came in at about $1 million. We chose not to do it at that time. We continue to have issues off and on with the roof, but part of the issue is what they're working around with the roof. So first, they don't know what they're working with because there's so many layers on there. If we want to properly RFP the roof replacement, we need to do some core samples in different areas around the roof so they have an idea of what are they really replacing. The second obstacle is the Verizon tower. We've had issues with the Verizon tower and the 5G and turning down the 5G when we want to go up on the roof and do some work. We're doing some extensive work with items in the penthouse for this project. My request would be the Verizon tower lease ends the end of October of 2027. I would like the county to consider not renewing that lease and giving them notice that we choose not to renew. Upon non-renewal, they have to remove all their items off the roof out of the building and repair the building back to original state. Instead of having them repair it, take those monies toward a new roof and do the roof replacement in 2027 as well.
Chairman.
Commissioner Bakken.
Mary, there's some other structures up there as well. Don't they have a shed?
Yeah,
to-
so
that-
there's a facility, a building up there, and then their tower.
Okay, so the shed would go away too, or is that,
I don't know what they all have in that facility, so we would have to
Okay.
negotiate that with Verizon.
and then what is the notification timeline for not renewing that lease? Is it 90 days?
90
Is it
days.
120 days?
90 days. But I would
I
like to
think-
give more.
Work with
than
them
90
ahead
days.
of-
I
Yeah,
think,
that-
I think
Yeah.
we should give them as much advance
Yeah,
notice as
that's-
possible, because they're gonna have to find someplace else to
Yeah,
put it.
because
That's-
if we move forward with that tonight, then I would say we notify them right away with that deadline, because 90 days for moving that kind of equipment is a heady job, especially when they have to identify another location as well, so,
And I don't want to put a new roof on in the winter.
no,
Right.
So there's a lot of things to negotiate with Verizon as far as
yeah.
removing all their equipment, including their generator, any of their venting, and all their rooftop structures.
I think that would be good to give them a lot of advance notice. So.
Yeah. So I would move with that recommendation to not renew the Verizon lease as presented, with the addendum that we give them as much notice as possible if you want to reach out to them right after this commission meeting, if that's what the commission wishes are.
Okay. I have a motion. Is there a second? I have a motion. Is there a second? Okay, motion and a second to notify Verizon about the lease.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Woodcock.
is there such a thing as, they've been a good renter, and that's good income, which we don't have anything to do with it, so I hate to lose that, but is there anything that would work out that after we put the new roof on, they can put their facility back in?
I would recommend not putting rooftop structures on that we don't need. Whether it's a siren or the tower, there's just always been issues with rooftop structures.
What are we doing with the blinker or the beacon?
Beacon has to
Good.
stay by Historical Society standards.
And this Provident Life on the west side, that comes
Coming
down?
down.
Yep.
Just coming down, that's it, right?
All the Provident Life signs have to come down because they're rusted in the back.
Okay.
Yeah, they're dangerous.
And I believe-
along those lines, we haven't gotten any clarification or information. However, there is some concern about the health and safety regarding the high-frequency radiation coming from 5G radio towers. My original training and background in the Marine Corps was high-frequency radio transmission, and quite frankly, I would not want to be working on the upper couple floors of that building myself with that facility up on the roof. Commissioner Woodcock?
That would include the backup generator they've got in the lower storage area, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
And, Mary, did Commissioner Munson actually review those signs too, as far as their condition as well? So
Yep.
he's well versed in the fact that they need to come down?
Yes.
Okay.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. Anything else, Mary?
So that was a two-parter.
Okay.
The second part is putting the roof replacement in the 2026 budget for 2027.
I think we have to.
Yeah. I would make that motion.
Second.
Okay, motion is second to add the rooftop replacement, certainly to the budget, yeah, to the, as
27.
moved, yeah. Any
Is
further
that-
discussion? Commissioner Woodcock?
Is that an additional fee, or we're just substituting it from one year to another?
We did not approve the roof replacement as part of the RFP process. We put it in as an alternate, just to kind
Okay.
of get a feel for what the cost would be.
So is this part of this motion is to approve the 1 million,
No.
approximately 1 million
No, it's to put it in the budget.
for
We still have to pass the budget on it.
2027?
Yeah.
Right.
Because we may not be able to fund it all in 1 year either.
Right.
I mean,
Okay,
we're
that's
not
what
going
my
to lock
thought was.
ourselves into, that amount is going to be chiseled in there.
Well, and the other part of that too is, the negotiation with repairing the roof back to its original condition, where there's going to be some timing and some dollar amounts that we're going to find out later about that as well, so.
And we don't want to repair it, we just want to use the repair money toward the
Correct.
replacement and do it all at once.
Right. So that was a motion and a second.
Yes.
It's getting harder to keep up here. Any other discussion? Call
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
one other thing, so part of that would be, though, is I'm going to guess there's going to be some minor repairs just to make sure that it's watertight after they remove their equipment before we actually do the roof?
Oh,
Or
sure,
what's
would,
that timing
yeah.
look
But
like?
That's their responsibility, though.
Right.
Yep.
So that might eat into a little bit of that, the whole restoration that they have to do.
Right, and that's
Okay.
something Jacob and I can work on as well with,
Okay.
with Verizon and just the logistics and timing of it all.
Okay, thank you.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries.
Mr.
Anything else?
Chairman,
Thank you, Mary.
quick,
Um,
since
Commissioner
Mary's here,
Woodcox.
can I
Yes, go ahead.
give an update on what we're doing on the banner or the mural on the south side? I visited with our person who's running the whole project, and he has visited with the general contractor. And the general contractor is going to do research on how those placards or how those are supposed to be put on there so there won't be any problems. So he has not heard back from them yet. As soon as we hear something there, I'll bring it back to the board and present it.
All right, thanks for the update. Thank you, Mayor. Sheriff Lieben, long time no see.
Yes, yes. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Quick update, quarterly jail report. The average daily population last month, as you can see by the information in your packet, we're reaching new highs. 360 was the average daily population for December of 2025. As I've reported to you, good news on the billing. 2025, we ended the year billing prisoner contracts 5,270,748. Last year was our best year prior to that. That was roughly just a little under 2.6 million, so significant improvement from that. If you go back in 23, we were 1.9 million and change. And then, during the COVID, we saw a drop. So I think this will be the new normal, absent any big changes in the court system for Burleigh County. But that is good news. Obviously, we have increased the budget, but overall, the cost of the jail is going down for Burleigh and Morton County residents. The other thing that's kind of interesting with this is, as we've watched the ebb and flow of the jail population, one of the areas I've come and talked to you about is booking. That's, the first place an inmate comes in to our facility. It's the most labor intensive, the first 24 hours of a prisoner being in our facility puts a big demand on services and our staff. And so that's been a number we've watched as these numbers have ebbed and flowed over the last, or I should say over the last, the life cycle of this jail, which we opened it in June of 17. So we're almost coming up on 9 years of that jail being open. The good thing is, when I looked at the numbers at the end of 2025 compared to 24, we were actually, for the first time, we were 100 inmates higher than we were in 2024 at the same time. But for the first time since we've opened that jail, the bookings have stabilized and actually dropped. This is a message I'm sharing with our staff in the aspect of the more long-term prisoners we put in as jail contract prisoners, the less transient population of that jail. So it's having an unintended benefit in the aspect of we are, by increasing our population, we're in turn reducing some of the stress on our staff. Because once we've got inmates in the facility and they've been there, they're stabilized, For the most part, the demands aren't as intense as that first 24 hours. Continuing on, if you have questions, just let me know. But alternatives to jail, currently 232 participants. That's the alcohol and drug testing programs I've talked to you about. These numbers seem to be coming down. I don't think there's any long-term implications. I think it's just what's going on in the court system. On a side note, one thing I would make you aware of is last legislative session, we didn't have it here, but it started in Cass County, some of the other areas where the courts have waived the cost for people to participate in these programs. So basically what happens is they get let out of jail, they're ordered to these programs, which when the programs were established by then Attorney General Stenjum, there was a cost. And that cost was put on the participant, not the taxpayers. Well, over time, that has slowly started morphing. And so I worked with the Cass County Sheriff to try and fix that legislatively. But ultimately that was ended up vetoed by the governor, and there's some question on constitution, legalities, so that's something we're monitoring. I have worked with the courts here to make them aware that it's our position that that should not be on the back of taxpayers. And so we're staying on top of that. I think we've had 2 cases to date, very minor, but it is something we're watching. So I wanted to make you aware of that. More good news, the staffing, we ended 2025 fully staffed. Currently, right now, the best thing we got going is our employees are recruiting their future coworkers, which is great. It's a positive thing for us. It tells us we're in a good position. And so, as you remember, going into this budget, 2026, we actually added detention staff 4 positions, and we came into the year with those positions filled because, as you recall, I can hire some unfunded backfill to manage the vacancies, and so we are sitting very, very good on staffing, knock on wood. Last big thing really is the DOCR contract. As you recall, we approved that at the Joint Commission meeting with Morton County. It's a staged progression to reach that full contract. The contract's for 120 beds guaranteed at $105 per day per prisoner. Basically, how we're going to transition into this is starting this week, we will take prisoners that are currently in our facility that we're housing them for DOCR, but they will move into that pod that will be rented entirely by DOCR. Then over the next several weeks, we'll slowly transition the remaining number of inmates to get to that 120 beds. Our goal is to have this in place by March 1st of 2026, at which time we'll start billing for that full pod usage. This is truly a work in progress. This has never been done before. And so as I spoke to you before, it's going to be good for Burleigh and Morton County, also good for the state of North Dakota. But we're going to have to monitor this as we go forward because there is a lot of things we don't know as we go forward. I think we've done very good planning on this. We have a good insight on how it's going to work. But ultimately, we got to make some concessions because a prisoner in a jail has less freedom of movement and less opportunities than a prisoner sitting in the North Dakota State Prison. So sometimes what we have to contend with is prisoners understand if they're a problem in our facility, eventually they can get transferred back to the prison. So I would compare it to a child throwing a tantrum and getting their way. So we're working to manage that, both with our staff and DOCR, and making some concessions in our facility which we typically wouldn't do with our other prisoners in there. But they're going to be long-term prisoners, so it is a win-win for us.
Okay, Commissioner Bakken.
Sheriff Leben, as far as programming, have you worked fully through the programming side? Because like you said, there's a bunch of different programming that's going to be over at the state prison that we're not going to be privy to. Are they making accommodations to bring some of those services over to our detention center to meet the needs of the inmates that are theirs?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and actually, thanks for asking that question. So basically, the whole purpose of this is to start programming. That was the problem DOCR had, is with these prisoners sitting in county jails across the state, they weren't getting the programming that they needed prior to release. So what we're ultimately going to have is prisoners that are basically in their last, just say roughly a year in custody. And so DOCR is bringing the programming to us. I think this is going to be a huge opportunity. We're going to learn some things we don't know, working with them on the programs they have and the long-term ability to hopefully turn offenders around. The other thing, I think they're going to get a chance to see how the county jails work more directly, because as it stands right now, by law, DOCR oversees, I shouldn't say they oversee, they inspect and set the rules for county jails. As you probably can recall, there was some times over the last decade where the relationship wasn't good between county jails and DOCR. I think it's at an all-time high, and I only see it getting better. Our relationship right now with DOCR is unbelievable, and so it's going to be good. They're bringing case managers with them. So they're going to be going through all of their programming inside of our facility.
Good. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Woodcock.
Is the state paying for transportation back and forth for all these state prisons? I assume they are.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, yes. So one of the things we did have to negotiate in the contract, and this is going to be something we'll have to watch very closely on the sheriff's side, the only transportation we will be on the hook for is basically emergency transportation. So if an inmate, if a DOCR inmate has a doctor's appointment, DOCR will arrange that transportation. We typically would still do court, which that falls on the counties right now. The only other time we would do transportation is like an emergency situation. Inmate falls down the steps in that cell block, or there's a fight in that cell block and somebody has to go to the ER. We have it in the contract, time frame that we would be responsible for the emergency transport. The good thing is we can bill for that. That's something I'm going to be talking with you, Commissioner Woodcox, at budget time, but also the entire board. We do track the revenue we are generating based on these transports for U.S. Marshals, ICE prisoners, and now these state prisoners, which adds up to a significant amount of money in addition to the other money we generate at the jail.
Good.
Last thing I got is the BMDC paint lawsuit. As you're aware, we did reach that settlement with 3 of the 4 parties to the lawsuit. That one check has come. We're still waiting on another one. That was one thing we didn't discuss in those joint meetings, is what to do with the check. What I did is I worked with Taylor. I felt that check could be just to, one, get it off my desk based on the amount of it, but also we can talk about it. I think right now it's taken care of, but that check was deposited into the capital improvement fund for the Burleigh Morton Detention Center. Ultimately, that's what I'd recommend to both commissions, where it should go anyways, so that's where we put it.
I don't have a problem with that. Commissioner Buckley.
One other item Kelly, is I heard some sad news, but congratulations. So you're not running for sheriff again, so you're retiring. So I want to thank you for your service. You've done a great job moving the needle in Burleigh County, especially with the detention center. It's just, Sheriff Heinert took it here, you took it here, and some big shoes to fill with your replacement, whoever that may be, to take it to the next step. But thank you very much for all your hard work and everything you've put into Burleigh County.
Well, you're going to be here a while yet. Though.
Well, yeah, he's not leaving tomorrow,
I'm not busting out the cake.
Just for those that don't know, he's retiring. So congratulations.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. I said it's kind of a weird situation. You say you're going to be done, and then you stick around for a year. So, but thank you very much. It definitely wasn't an easy decision, and
well, I know your commitment to the county, so yeah,
Yes.
it must have been a very difficult decision. So thank you, though.
thank you.
Maybe you should be a county commissioner.
I think that concludes my remarks.
I'd rather go fishing. All right, thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
Okay, interim treasurer, deputy finance director Schmidt. We got taxes and specials on county properties. Welcome, Taylor.
Good evening, Chair Bittner and Commissioners. So in the packet were the 6 property tax statements on Burleigh County-owned property. One of them was our professional parking lot, and that we've had taxes on going back as far as I can see. And I did talk to our tax director, and he said the city assesses it based on the value of the spots we rent. So that's all we're paying taxes on there, is just that. And I don't know exactly the number that we have off the top of my head, but that's what we're paying on there. And then there were 5 properties that had specials. So the Provident Building and the courthouse downtown, I know they did that street work, so they charged us for that. And there were 3 properties out at the Missouri Valley Complex. Those all had specials on them as well. And that's a total of $171,000 in specials and taxes. Now, and I don't know how it happened, why it didn't get in there. In the budget for 26, we only have $8,500 for taxes and specials.
8,500.
8,500.
So
we're quite a bit short. I didn't get the budget amendment in the packet, so we can push this to the next meeting if you want, but I do have handouts, because we'll need to amend that budget so we can pay those specials.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Woodcock.
is that a annual $181,000?
That's the payoff, because that's been the county.
Total. If we were to pay them off
Yep,
entirely.
that's been our historical practice, because we can make more, we pay a higher rate in interest on it every year than if we just pay it off now.
Did you look into any particular budgets? I just got the end of December financial information. Did you look at any of those budgets?
So those 3 that are the Missouri Valley Complex, historically, we've had specials on there a few times, and we paid out of that fund. And so, in that case, they did have, I just wrote down, they had $170,000 of interest. I know historically that's kind of when there's stuff that comes up, that's where we kind of take it out of that pot, of the interest revenues. That would more than cover, the Missouri Valley Complex specials were $95,000, so that 170 in interest would more than cover that, that special. And then the Provident gets a little more complicated. So the Provident, when it was for rent, it had its own fund.
Right.
So that we could track all the revenue, we put some expenses in there and kind of netted it to zero. Well, I know our previous finance director, now that we have been renting it and we're gonna hopefully be moving in soon, we close that fund, because you don't really have funds for individual county buildings, it's just a general fund building. So we did close that fund. Now we had a budget, I have the number. We did budget a transfer into the general fund, because that's what we do when we close a fund. We transfer any remaining dollars in that fund into the general fund. I believe the transfer was $500,000, $550. It's gonna be closer to $750. So there is kind of that extra where we didn't spend some expenses and had a little extra interest revenue than we budgeted for. So that transfer, that extra money, so to speak, would also more than cover the $76,000 of the general fund, because that would be the Provident Building and the courthouse.
Okay. So rather than take it all out of the courthouse fund, out of the Provident, is there money in the courthouse fund at all that?
There's nothing, it would just be general fund reserves at that point.
Okay. Commissioners, I wouldn't have any problem with making those payments out of those 2 funds, the Missouri Valley Complex and the Provident leftover fund.
I would move to make those payments and pay off those special assessments out of those 2 funds. So.
Second.
Motion and a second to pay those. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Bakken?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab?
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox?
Yes.
Chairman Bittner?
Yes, motion carries.
Did you have the handout?
Oh, yeah, I do have a handout for you
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah,
I would like to see
I guess
that.
I'd like to see that, but you're going to stick around because we're going to talk about that Garrison thing that we. Okay, thank you. County Auditor Splonskowski on auxiliary board applications. I think this is a carryover from the last meeting.
Yes, Chairman and Commissioners, we still have some applications for some auxiliary board positions, namely the ones on the Water Resource District. We have a Garrett Bryan and then also a Brian Mager. I know that Commissioner Woodcox wanted to review those applications. And so if you want to take this one at a time, we certainly can do it that way.
Okay. Commissioner Woodcock.
Mr. Chairman, I did meet with Brian, I might pronounce it wrong, it's M-A-G-E-R, Mager, I think.
Yes.
And I met with him last week at our water board meeting. He attended the meeting, and a nice young gentleman. He's got several degrees that are associated with water, and I would certainly recommend that we appoint Brian Mager to that position.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second for that appointment. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Schwab?
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox?
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken?
Yes.
Chairman Bittner?
Yes. motion
Mr.
carries.
Chairman,
Commissioner Woodcock.
he'll be filling in for Kathleen Jones, who retired on that board for several years, and I would like to thank her for her participation, because she was a very good member and was always attentive and knew what she was talking about. So I want to thank her for her service.
Okay. Thanks for that.
And then the next one here is the School District Reorganizational Board. Do you want to discuss that at all, Commissioner?
I visited with our superintendent of schools last week, and he still has not located anybody that would be willing to serve. So I'll just wait till that happens, and I'll continue to talk to him and see what's going on. So.
Good.
Mark, would you run through the scope of what that position entails, just in case somebody out there is watching and may have some interest in that?
Commissioner Woodcox may be able to expound upon this as well, but the School District Reorganizational Board basically reviews any requests for people who want to move out of one school district into another, so it would be a amendment to the map. And then if there's any other things that come up of that sort, that's basically what this group would meet for. It's probably only once, maybe twice a year. It's not too often, but
Right.
that's my understanding of the board. Do you agree, Commissioner?
You're exactly right. Some areas want to move into a certain school district, and maybe they want to move into Naughton or move into Apple Creek Township or their area, and that's when they meet. So they only meet once a year, maybe not even have any. But we've had some movement in the last 2 or 3 years where some of these new developments, we're getting a lot of developments out in the county, so that they probably will meet, but not that often. But they have to be interested in schools and be willing to serve. So we'll keep you abreast as to what's
So
going
anybody
on.
interested that, or may have an appetite for that position, we are looking for somebody to join.
Yep.
Apply through the auditor's office. There's applications there. And
They're available online as well. I should point that out.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I guess that's down to this little Garrison diversion conversation. First of all, I had a couple of questions. I think everybody was emailed the meeting video and did you get it?
Mm-hmm.
So did you have an opportunity?
had a
to
heck of a
review it?
time to open it up, but I finally got it open,
And you were able to listen
and
to
then I
it?
had to advance the tape because it was like a 2-hour meeting, and
Right.
they were near the end, so I did finally got to it. Yes.
Okay. Just a second. So you haven't seen, I think, there's, well, never mind.
They're going to they're going to call for a public hearing.
That's part of what this discussion is about.
Right.
Was there any indication, do you recall, of where the location of that meeting
No.
might be or anything? Okay. Commissioner Bakken, go ahead.
So Commissioner Munson and myself have attended meetings with the Garrison Diversion Conservancy, and we're following this very closely. I would be a little reserved on going too far down the road with the discussions on this without Commissioner Munson here as well, because him and I have been kind of riding this horse. So I think it would just be remiss if he wasn't involved in the conversations, because we've both been following this very closely and what this looks like moving forward for Burleigh County. And we're in concurrence, just like I believe the rest of this board is, but I think Commissioner Munson should be part of this conversation as well.
No problem with that.
So
I
just
don't
before
think
we
there
get
was
into
any-
too
Yeah, there
deep
wasn't
of-
supposed to be any big
yeah.
decision here. This is more of an informational kind of put it together thing, because I think there's an AI, what do you call it, a transcript floating around that you probably haven't seen that. If, I tell you what I'll do is I will send that. I was in receipt of that, and I will send it to commissioners. And keep in mind, it's an AI type of thing that.
Summary.
Yeah, it's a summary. It's not really what you would expect, meeting minutes and
It's a caption.
Yeah, it's not the
Yeah.
full meeting minutes, it's a summary of the pertinent information for Burleigh County.
I think they had it's the same thing the owls do.
Yeah.
It records the meeting plus makes a transcript of it.
Okay.
But the way the meeting is held and the position of the owl, it isn't the best, but we can get the idea.
Okay, I'm trying to find it here yet, because I want to send that while we're on the subject, make sure everybody has that. Just give me a minute. Only about 1,000 of these things. Okay, here's a transcript. Yep, I got it. So now my internet connection. Forward to. Oh, yeah. Steve Schwab. Okay, commissioners, you should all have that. And I would suggest maybe the Bismarck Tribune wants to get a hold of some of that copy, and so you see what we're talking about.
And the Bismarck Tribune did do an article after that meeting. It was kind of light,
Yeah.
but
Okay. All right, that's suitable enough as far as discussion on that. There was a question, though, that Commissioner Schwab asked me about two of the counties. There was one where Binford, it's a town goes by Binford, which is way up in between. It's kind of like equidistance between Devil's Lake and Cooperstown, but it's about the same distance from Bismarck as the crow flies. And I looked it up, and I looked it up on the thing to see what their mill levy was, because we've been talking about mill levies and how much we pay in. So the Griggs County paid in 2024, because that's the most recent information available through the state, something on the order of a little over $23,000, but they got a substantial grant from the Recreation Committee of the Garrison Diversion Committee, kind of way in excess of what they put in. And so the question was, are they a member? And so I looked that up, yes, and Commissioner Schwab, Griggs County is one of the 28 members of the Garrison Diversion Conservancy District, as is Ramsey County, because I know in the past at this table, we talked a little bit about this recreation building that they built up in Devil's Lake in Ramsey County. Well, apparently the Garrison Diversion Recreation Committee provided money to that project as well. And maybe you can see water from there or something, wherever that building is built. But just wanted to point out that their mill levy at the time was a little over 73,000, I think. They are a member as well. And however, there was comment, and I think it's important that, hopefully we'll talk about that with Commissioner Munson, but so far we haven't made application towards this $3 million project on the river down here. But at 50, the current thing was 50,000, and at this meeting, they upped that. Well, they're shifting money around, I think, so that they don't look like they have so much money in the bank and moving it to these different funds or something. But they increased that amount available to the grants to 100,000, which really wouldn't put a drop in our bucket. And I want you to pay particular attention in those videos about the comments about how Burleigh County wouldn't fund that project even if they donated $1 million or something. And I think we probably all understand that that project is being considered because of the agreement with the Corps of Engineers. And I don't really think we have much choice on that. When the time comes, I think it's going to be a big deal. But I wanted to point out that based on our contribution to the Garrison diversion, that's roughly $760,000 a year that we send to them. It would only take us 4 years to pay off that $3 million job if we weren't sending that money to Garrison Diversions, just so you know. And then the other question was, have we sent any money to the Garrison Diversion Conservancy District? And so I called Taylor after hours on the weekend, and I appreciate him taking the call. And he said yes, that we sent payment to the Garrison Diversion District on Friday, and he was going to provide us with some information on that. And that's because, Commissioner Schwab, you asked the question. Taylor?
Hello again. So as far as the Garrison Diversion is concerned, our office, we treat it just like we do all of our political subdivisions. So by law, we're required to send them their money by the 10th business day, and it's based on the previous month's collection. So everybody that paid their taxes, however much of each person's bill was for the Garrison Diversion, we add all that up for December, and then by the 10th business day in January, we have to send that off to them. Okay. And so it's every month we do that. So every month, whatever gets paid. Obviously, it's heavier in these first few months, because people want to pay by the discount, and then it's going to be less and less, most likely, maybe a little bump in October, and then.
Right. So the question was, what was the amount that was
And the amount was
sent?
$105,000 so far, and that was for December collections.
So that's a portion of the total $700 and some thousand, right?
Yeah, because that would imply that, about a seventh of people have paid their taxes, or, so as more
Right.
people pay, they'll have more money that we send.
Okay. Okay, that's pretty much all I had. Thank you for sharing that information. And I also want to point out my appreciation for taking the call after hours. It's not a 9 to 5 all the time. Commissioners, anybody else have anything on it? Commissioner Schwab?
When this whole Garrison Diversion thing started, the more you look at it, we need, number one, to get legal opinion of this meeting, January 9th, and what they were going to do with funds. They suggested a fire sale of grants, which we know it's just going to be a problem. Moving money from one account to another, and they're concerned about being in tough shape in front of the legislature. I would like to see that we discontinue sending them money until these legal questions are done, and the state better get to it also. And check this out, they laid out a clear blueprint what they're going to do, and it is not good. I think it's illegal. I got another word for it, but I'm not going to use it yet. But also on the meeting, I don't think it's in the best interest of Burleigh County, knowing what we know now, what they want to do with this pool of money, which they admit is surplus, they're collecting more than what they need. I think that we need to get a legal opinion and not meet with them, because I got this sneaky feeling this is going to go to court, and I think meeting with them is a mistake because they've already outlined what they want to do. They want to come down here and maybe pack the building with supporters from wherever and try to get this commission to overrule that letter we sent them. They need to do their job, and they got 60 days to get that letter, to get the vote, so we can move on. And I fully suspect this is going to go to court, and if what I think is going to happen happens, we need to sue them for $9 million they owe us. And I am not going to fool around with these guys. They belittle Burleigh County. Well, okay, fine. They know Burleigh County's finances. They're a bunch of smart asses. And the same thing with that guy up there at Ward County who come right out and said, hey, we're not going to let him get out. These people on this board really need to be investigated, and I'm hoping Julie Lawyer can kind of direct us on this. I don't think we should be associating them or financing this atrocity that they're setting up. And I'm very, very, very vehement about this.
I understand that, but we don't have the authority to withhold the tax we've collected for
We
them.
have cause because we're aiding and abetting.
We don't have legal authority to withhold the tax we're collecting for them. It's not our tax. They, under the statute, assess their own budget, and then they give it to us, and then we collect it for them, just like we do for the city. And we don't have the authority to tell the city we don't like how much they're collecting, and we're not going to give them money either. So there isn't a way to withhold those funds from
Yeah,
them.
all we got to do is stop paying them. Are we going to go to jail for that?
No.
I mean, if they're going to use it illegally and have this fire sale and they're dumping money that we've paid in, I think that's cause for us to say, hey, wait a minute, we better withhold until we get a legal opinion here, but we can't.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Woodcups.
Last week I happened to go up to the water resource pumping station up on the river, and I learned a lot. I mean, you'd be surprised. I was really surprised at what they do statewide and where the money goes and what they've done for Burleigh County. And when they have this public hearing, I don't think it'll be here. It's their public hearing, not ours. So they might have it at the Capitol, or where they've got facilities someplace, but which we will certainly be at. But we'll learn a lot there, because they do a lot for Burleigh County that we were not aware of. I certainly wasn't aware. And I'm not going to go into it now because it'll come out in the public hearing. They're going to present their case, and we'll see what happens. I know one thing, I probably shouldn't say anything, but they're planning on an expansion, a new treatment facility up here at our Burleigh County Water Resource District, right next to where they're at now. And it's going to be a multi-million-dollar operation. I don't know the exact numbers, and they have not gotten that far yet. But within the next 2 years, they're supposed to have another treatment plant. And they will rely upon Garrison Diversion to give them a grant, which they've done before. They've done several times over the years, and it'll be substantial. It won't be $100,000. It's going to be in the millions of dollars that they will hopefully get from Garrison Diversion. That doesn't mean they're going to, but that will be a key as to whether or not they will be able to build that new facility.
Yeah, I think everything I've read, Commissioner, that they're a pass-through agency for federal grant dollars. This is not a situation that they would be getting a grant from the Garrison Diversion. The grant would be from the federal government.
He indicated that it was a grant from Garrison Diversion, so, because
Well,
they would apply to Garrison Diversion.
Yeah, I took pictures of their literature that they have available online just yesterday, and they made it very clear in there that they are a pass-through.
Well, we're
agency,
getting
so.
pass-through money for the Provident too. Are we supposed to ignore that and say that's not federal money, that's not fair.
No, I'm just clarifying for you that Garrison Diversion is not providing the money.
Well, I'll debate that, not now, in a public hearing, it'll come up, they'll be able to tell us exactly what they do. They've got several other programs that I didn't realize that they do for Burleigh County. They're substantial too. One of them is when new residents want, if they build a new house out in the county, this is all out in the county too, it's not in the city of Bismarck. They can apply for a grant of $10,000 to hook up to water from Burleigh County Water. And they've done I think 900 of them or something like that. And so a lot of these new developments, I'm not sure about Hawktree, whether they are under city water or under county water. But the development north of there, the Boulder Ridge, I think it is. I'm not sure of the name. There are going to be several hundred homes in there. They will all be connected to Burleigh Water, and they will all be applying for a $10,000 grant. It's not a loan; it's a grant to hook up to their water. So it's amazing what they do compared to what I thought, because I thought all they were doing was these $50,000 grants to the city, or to the county. So there'll be a lot of new information.
Well, speaking of grants, we give them money and they accuse us of not, how would we say it, join with ventures with them to get grant money back. It's all our fault when they're out here giving our money to other counties, and they say right in there.
Oh, that's their mission.
That is not their mission. Their mission, if you really would listen to them, you would think that they control the water flow out of the Garrison Dam, they do flood control. No, they don't. The Bureau of Reclamation does. This is the fluff that I'm telling you about.
Their mission was Garrison Diversion, and they've never finished
They've
that
changed it.
project.
Yeah, well, here, let me read to you what they actually do. And this is directly from the Garrison Diversion website. Their focus areas. Reliable and high-quality water can mean the difference between success and failure for small towns and family farms. Garrison Diversion works to ensure North Dakotans have access to reliable and high-quality water through the MR&I program. That's the Municipal, Rural, and Industrial Program, which is what you were referring to for those individual homes. Okay, so Garrison Diversion is the fiscal agent, and along with the State Water Commission, is responsible for administering the state MR&I program. This program has $400 million authorized in federal funding to help water systems deliver quality water to homes, businesses, and farmers. So that's what I was talking about, Commissioner. They're a fiscal agent. They're not. They don't provide the grants and the funding.
Well, they do. They lobby Washington and they lobby the state to get that funding. So that's and if we didn't have that funding, Burleigh Water wouldn't exist. If we didn't have that funding, they wouldn't be there.
Commissioner,
which is a huge benefit to the rural areas of Bismarck.
Commissioner, the point is, and I've said this all along, there's value in Garrison Diversion Authority, but the value is for the state and the federal dollars they bring into the state of North Dakota. 28 counties are paying for the state of North Dakota. We're paying the administrative costs for them to facilitate federal dollars coming into the state, and those dollars don't necessarily go back to the member counties. They go statewide. That's the problem.
Well, they're supposed to go to just the counties that are members. And I asked that question. They said they do not do anything other than for members of that association.
And the MRNI program is a separate program. That's a federal program. That's not.
Yeah, that's.
There's a lot of commingling. There's a lot of commingling.
Yes, there is.
But for example, the last thing I researched this weekend that involved that program you're talking about, where they'll provide assistance to somebody that wants to hook up water to their home, the number that I found for the year that I was looking at, they provided $30,000 roughly.
Okay.
$30,000.
To the
now
rural.
we're talking about Burleigh County citizens paying $760,000 into a program, and about all I can come up with is like maybe 50, 80. Let's be generous and say maybe $100,000 a year in return to Burleigh County. So I think that's why we're talking about it. I mean, you know, because it looks to me like we're subsidizing all these little places. You know, like Benford, North Dakota, with a population of 40 people, and a tax base in that whole county of $23,000 going to that program. I think there's something wrong. So.
Well, I know for a fact.
There's no decision needs to be made on this.
I know for a fact that this plant that they're planning on building will not exist unless they get funding from Garrison Diversion.
No.
So if we drop out.
No, because the state water commission, you're being fed information, Commissioner.
If we drop out of Garrison Diversion, Garrison Diversion not going to give that Burleigh water resource any kind of money at all to build a new plant.
They don't give us
They don't
any
get the
anyway.
money,
They
it's a state.
give us federal money that passes through them, and they get their administrative fee. These guys are a bunch of thieves, period.
Well,
the
And
thing of it
they're
is,
taking
see, there
advantage.
is
it's a
a,
federal program if it's a federal program, should we deny us, Burleigh County citizens, of getting some of that?
I don't think it'd be denied, Commissioner. We don't know that. It's
Well, we
because
certainly will be.
they work in conjunction with the State Water Commission, and this is really where this thing needs to be. This thing has suffered mission creep ever since its creation because it never completed its original mission. There's all these other things. Now all of a sudden they're in the recreation business, building a community hall in some town that's not even close to any water. And so they
Well, we put a
recognize that in
field-
that video.
We built the field on our ball diamond. I didn't agree with that either. It was a recreational grant of $50,000 that the Bismarck Park District applied to Garrison Diversion, and they got the grant. And
Yeah.
that's where most of our money we've received
$50,000.
has been grants through Bismarck Parks and Rec.
Sure, and I think
don't
we had
deny that at all.
information that over this entire
But we have-
period,
but
you
we
got
have
this
not-
little bit of money that we got back. Now, when we need a big chunk, we need $3 million for a water project
Right.
in Burleigh County.
Okay.
And we're begging to get somewhere between 50 and 100,000, and they may or may not approve it.
You're talking
Well,
about two
that's-
different programs entirely. You're
No.
talking about a recreational grant, and you're talking about a grant to build a water treatment plant.
I'm not talking about that, you were. I was saying
Well,
that
yes, I want to talk
they
about
provide such little value to Burleigh County that I think it's worthwhile to have the conversation. Because it's the citizens of Burleigh County that are paying for it, and they're not getting a return on investment, Commissioner. That's all.
I don't agree with that at all. I mean,
I see that. And that's you're welcome to your opinion. That's not meant for an
they'll all-
argument,
well,
Commissioner.
that's why
It's
I'm
not
looking
meant
forward
for
to
an
this
argument.
public hearing, because the public hearing will be held by them, and it'll be, anybody who wants to come and testify will come and testify. And I certainly am gonna be there. I'm sure you guys will too, so.
I don't know that I would. I'm kind of a busy guy. So anyway, we've pretty well had that conversation. There was no decisions needed, and that was just for conversation. Any other business? I have a note here for 250th anniversary under other business. I think Commissioner Bakken, you had it.
Yeah, just Commissioner Woodcock's kind of updated a little bit earlier, but I was wondering if you had an opportunity to reach out or have a conversation with Mr. Bollinger with Fanatics and the Larks. They have been tasked by the city and working with the state on the 250th anniversary.
No, I'm not.
So he'd requested either you having a conversation with them or would like an opportunity to come to the county commission and present what they're working on so far.
Right.
And then if there's an opportunity for Burleigh County to be involved with that as well. So I will give you his number if you want to reach out to him
Sure, certainly.
this week. And I would say it'd be very worthwhile getting him here for a presentation at the commission.
No problem.
Okay, I thank you for that. Any other business for the good of Burleigh County? Thank you, Commissioners. We are adjourned.